Hey friends, my name's Emily Ruff and I'm an herbalist coming to you today from the Sage Mountain Botanical Sanctuary. And here we are celebrating the full moon taking place tonight, peaking at 7:55 p.m. Eastern Time on the eve of our autumn equinox that we're celebrating this week, the start of the fall season that astronomically takes place on September 22nd. Historically, a lot of calendars mark equinox as September 21st. So I'm excited to see both of these very special events taking place right within a few days of each other. The full moon that we're experiencing on Monday night is known as the harvest moon, and there are cultures throughout Asia and Europe and South America which will all be marking the harvest moon with special harvest festivals. Now, whether you live in a temperate climate and the colors of autumn are already starting to greet you, or you live in a tropical environment such as Florida or Georgia, any environment where we're in, we experience the shift of the seasons. And those of my friends down in Florida know that while the weather is still not quite cool yet, there are changes and shifts that we see in the length of a day, in certain more cool weather plants that are starting to creep up out of the ground, in the fruits that we can harvest. And so no matter whether you are visually experiencing in a very dramatic way the foliage of autumn like we do up here in central Vermont, we are seeing that change happening in the earth around us as we approach autumn. The word equinox has its roots in Latin, equus for equal and nox for night. And it's said largely that the day and night are equal on equinox. That's not precisely true. There's approximately an 8-minute difference between day and night in North America on the equinox, but it is the closest time of the year that we come to an equal day and an equal night. And that concept of balance as we are moving in a transition time, as we are shifting from summer into autumn, is something that I reflect on, and I appreciate that reminder out in the landscape around me at this time of year. I speak to my students about this concept of balance and equinox inviting us to pause and reflect on where balance is showing up in our life. Maybe we are celebrating because we have found a great balance between work and play, or we are finding balance in our daily life with our family. Perhaps this reminder that we are seeing out in nature is in fact giving us pause to look at where can we cultivate greater balance in our day-to-day life. So that concept of balance is something that is a theme really present for us in the landscape around us during this week. Now, that concept of harvest is also really present. We have the harvest full moon happening Monday night. We have the equinox over Tuesday and Wednesday, which moves us into autumn. And in many temperate climates, autumn is the harvest season. So, of course, we have much to celebrate in our gardens, in our fields, but I also think this is an important occasion for us to pause and to celebrate what we are harvesting in our life right now. Where are the fruits of our labors appearing? And these may be labors of an emotional or spiritual way. What are seeds that maybe we planted in the summer or the spring or even all the way back at the new year that we have diligently watered and nourished and committed to and are now harvesting in our beliefs, in our behaviors, in our relationships, in our creative endeavors. So thinking about the concept of harvest and how can we honor and celebrate that harvest, whether it's in our gardens and fields or in our personal lives and within our heart, what are we harvesting and how can we honor and celebrate that? I feel like autumn equinox and this harvest moon is a call for honor and celebration and gratitude for all those things that we're harvesting in our life, to give ourselves that gratitude for committing to the things that we deserve in our life and nurturing and watering those seeds that we plant. And also gratitude to the elements and to spirit that helps to nourish and water and cultivate the seeds that we plant in our garden so that we can harvest the fruits of those labors. Gratitude is such an important ingredient in continuing the cycle beyond the harvest. After the harvest, we've rest and then we plant our seeds again. And I think gratitude is a really important ingredient to let these elements that have conspired with us to harvest these fruits of our labor know that we are thankful and that we have gratitude and that we hope that they will join us and support us again in our next round of planting and harvesting. The harvest moon will be rising this evening, and because of its position in proximity to Earth, as it rises on the horizon, it will look almost orange or red. And that is because of the Earth's atmosphere. So the moon itself isn't turning orange out there in the sky, but elements in the Earth's atmosphere will cause its color to appear orange. Now, we are in the final days of the sun sitting in the sign of Virgo, and the full moon tonight is sitting in the opposite sign to Virgo, Pisces, all the way across the zodiac. Those of you that are familiar with these signs know that Virgo can be very methodical, that Virgo can be very organized, have a lot of structure. On the opposite side of the zodiac cycle, we have Pisces, which often strives for and seeks more structure and is very mysterious and elusive and immersed in its emotions. And so sometimes if you have either of those signs in a prominent placement in your natal chart or your birth chart, you may feel a bit of the conflicting energy between Pisces and Virgo. But I focus on, as much as the feeling of conflict, the feeling of complement. We have the structure and the organization and the groundedness of Virgo, and we also can be informed by our emotional, intuitive, instinctual, and spiritual side with Pisces. So in a sense, we are meeting at this full moon with the sun in Virgo and the moon in Pisces, combining and marrying the best of both worlds. Now we are exiting the Virgo sun season, and in just about 1 week, the planet Mercury will move into its retrograde motion. It is appearing to orbit backwards or in retrograde as we view Mercury from planet Earth as we look up in the sky. And Mercury is a planet that rules things like communication and technology. So some of us find that that it's important to really be intentional with communication, to make sure that our email lands safely in the other person's inbox, to make sure that the words we speak are carefully crafted so they're not misunderstood. And if they are misunderstood, or if an email lands in someone's spam inbox or doesn't quite make it and it gets lost in the ethers, it helps us to have extra patience and flexibility to weather some of those hiccups and changes. But I mentioned Mercury in a week or so, and it'll be retrograde for a few weeks once it moves in that motion. I mention it because in these final days of the sun sitting in the sign of Virgo, we have an opportunity to tie up loose ends. We have an opportunity to organize our spaces and clear them of clutter. We have an opportunity to clear our emotional clutter and our mental clutter and prepare for that Mercury time when we may be feeling a little bit unmoored, when we may be feeling a little bit of frenetic or chaotic energy come through our way. So in these days, as we're approaching the shift of the seasons and as we're in the final days of the sun sitting in the sign of Virgo, we have an opportunity to utilize and harness that energy to organize our surroundings, organize our life, clear space of clutter, and release, just like the autumn leaves are teaching us, just like the full moon energy supports. We have the support of the sky and the support of the leaves on the trees reflecting back to us that sometimes it's okay to let go of the things that we're holding, in part so we can make space for what we want to create and bring into our life. So these are just a few reflections of the planetary energy and of the celestial energy that's happening right now and that's influencing all of the life on this planet. And I hope that these reflections will give you an inspiration to think about where in your life is it time to release? Where in your life is it time to celebrate the harvest? Where in your life is it showing you an opportunity to organize and create a little order in your life? And where in your life are you celebrating the balance that you've achieved, or are you being called to cultivate more balance in your life? I'd love to hear in the comments below any reflections that these lessons from nature and from the cosmos are offering up for you, and any practices or rituals that you may use in your life to honor full moon, to honor the equinox, and to honor this beautiful season that we're moving into. In just one season from now, as we enter the winter season at winter solstice, we'll be starting our next round of our year-long moon medicine class. It'll start on winter solstice, and every new moon and full moon, you'll receive a lesson speaking to the themes of the earth and the cosmos, just like this little snippet offered today. And we also have live gatherings on the equinoxes and solstices so that we can move into these new seasons with all of the support that the earth and the stars provide for us. We cover things like astronomy and astrology. We cover how the physical body and our health has an interplay with the moon. We look at things like gardening by the moon and medicine making by the moon. We study lots of lore and tradition from cultures all around the world. And I'd love to invite you to join us. Our waiting list is now live for our next session starting at winter solstice. And if you add your name to that list, you'll be the first to know when enrollment opens. I hope that you have the opportunity to celebrate all of the harvest in your life and to give gratitude and thanks for all the fruits of your labor and all the elements around us that are conspiring to bring us these gifts. And may you have a wonderful full moon rise tonight and get to enjoy that spectacular globe in the sky shining down on us and illuminating our hearts and our minds. Until next time, happy moon gazing.